32-1 power rankings. These are this this was the toughest 32-1 power rankings that I've done, because there are a lot of teams that I didn't think were going to be good, but through the first 2 weeks they've been quite good. And so we've got teams falling down way down the list. We've got teams jumping up the list. I mean, this is going to be a lot different than last week. I'll just go ahead and tell you that. Let's start with the infamous bottom three. The bottom three is not exactly different from what you would expect. At number 32, obviously, it's the Carolina Panthers. There's no bigger dumpster fire in the NFL than the Panthers. No bigger dumpster fire in the NFL than the Panthers. Already benched Bryce Young. I think that's a stupid move. And bad roster, bad organization. Everything's bad there now. At number 31, give me the Denver Broncos. I understand Bo Nix is a rookie and it's a tough spot. The teams they don't have a very good team around him either, and that's not helping. And I wonder if Sean Payton's best head coaching days are behind him, because it's just looking very iffy in Denver right now. And rounding out the bottom three is the New York Football Giants, the G-Men. Broncos and Giants swapping places. Broncos and Giants swapping places this week. Last week, it was Broncos, Giants, Panthers in the bottom three. This week, we're flip-flopping Giants, Broncos. Because I think the Giants were better this week. They were competitive. That went down to the end. Daniel Jones was significantly better than he was in week one. And so I'll give the Giants the benefit of the doubt, even though Brian Daboll made some interesting coaching decisions, and he's on a little hotter seat than I would have thought he was, because I thought his job was pretty safe there. But that's your bottom three: Giants, Broncos, Panthers. Let's get into the 20s here with number 29, the Patriots. I know the Patriots defense is very respectable, but it's always tough when you lose on Sunday and then turn around and lose on Thursday. Jacoby Brissett looked awful last night. The Jets have a great defense, but Jacoby Brissett was bad. Just the Patriots that we saw last night were the Patriots that I was expecting to see. I just think the best you're going to get from Brissett is fine. And at worst, you get last night, where he just was completely a non-factor, and the Drake May clock may be ticking as we speak. Number 28, the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts, their run defense is the worst in the NFL through 2 weeks. Their secondary is no good. You didn't really see a lot of that secondary being no good because it was Malik Willis that they were playing against, but the Colts defense is, there's a lot of good defenses in the NFL this year, and the Colts are not one of them. Anthony Richardson, you already know, I'm not sold. He threw 3 interceptions. They got A.D. Mitchell dropping passes when Richardson does throw it well. So, yeah, I think the Colts stink. At 27, I got the home team, Tennessee Titans. What makes the Titans better than the Colts to me, the Titans, I think, absolutely have a better defense than the Colts. I think Levis and Richardson are, so far through this season, are probably, similar enough. The only difference is Richardson hasn't done anything totally stupid like Levis has. But I think the Titans' defense is better than the Colts. That's why I have them above the Colts. 26, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars rounding out this AFC South trifecta. Everybody thought the AFC South was going to be better this year. Through the first 2 weeks, if your name ain't the Houston Texans, you are not better. The Jags are at 26. Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, Lawrence was fine against Cleveland, but they got play calling issues. They've got offensive line issues. They've got issues in Jacksonville, and it's not necessarily Trevor, but it's a lot of different things. The offensive line, again, has not been good. Play calling, Doug Peterson's seat's getting a little warmer. Number 25, the Chicago Bears. I hated to drop the Bears this far because I had them at 17 last week, but there's just so many teams that were at the bottom that look really good that the Bears just dropped and dropped and dropped, even though they only lost by 6 to Houston on the road. Listen, Caleb Williams, we're seeing in real time, he's trying to adjust from college to the NFL, and it was obvious on Sunday night he thought he was still at USC and that he could do that whole thing where he rolls out to the left and then throws back across the field and then rolls out to the right and throws, off his back foot. That stuff worked in college. It worked at USC. does not fly in the NFL at all, and he found that out. The Bears have a really good defense, but offensively, I think Caleb Williams is just going to have, it's going to take time with him. Number 24, the Cleveland Browns. I dropped the Browns 4 spots in spite of the fact that they won. I mean, that's how weird this list is this week. I got the Browns at 24. I mean, Deshaun Watson, I still don't believe in him at all. He's getting sued. They've got footage, and it looks like things might get bad for him. So I don't believe in him. I don't believe in the Browns offense. I think the Browns obviously have a good defense, but I think this year there are better defenses than theirs, even though they have Myles Garrett, who's a freak. I just think that ultimately, offensively with Watson and all the unknowns with him, even when he's in there without getting sued, he doesn't play very well. Number 23, the Raiders. I really wanted to move the Raiders way up the list. I moved them, up from 29 to 23. They got a huge win on the road at Baltimore, trailing by 10 in the fourth quarter, coming back to win. Gardner Minshew, I think, was great in the fourth quarter of that game. But I didn't go any higher with the Raiders just because I think it's one of those things. With Minshew, it always feels a little fluky. Like, I love Gardner Minshew, but it's like when he wins, he's kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He is a good comparison to Ryan Fitzpatrick. He can win you a game and everybody's happy, and then the next week he'll do something just to totally blow it. So we'll see how things continue with the Raiders. At number 22, it's the Washington Commanders. I think the Commanders, when you see how Caleb Williams is struggling, Bo Nix is struggling, Anthony Richardson and Will Levis are struggling, Bryce Young's gotten benched, I think it really makes you appreciate how good Jaden Daniels has been through the first 2 weeks for Washington. I mean, he's playing really well. I think they got to be very encouraged about him. And so I think the Commanders, I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they'll win some games nobody thinks they're going to win. Got them at 22. Number 21, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know a lot of people will say, why aren't the Steelers higher on this list? They're the only 2-0 team in that division. Yes, they are. Steelers are always going to be good. Mike Tomlin's always going to have them in the mix. I can't totally buy in yet. I just don't think it's going to last. I think the Bengals are going to get better. I think the Ravens are going to get better. I think Justin Fields has not done anything to light the world on fire through the first 2 weeks. I just think starting this week, really, I think the Steelers are going to start to level out a little bit. I think the Steelers will end up 7-10, 8-9 by the time it's all said and done. But for right now, they're 2-0. They won an ugly one over the Broncos, and Mike Tomlin's going to find a way to have this team in the mix. I just don't think it's going to be as clear-cut as it's been so far that they're heads and shoulders above teams in that division. Number 20, the Miami Dolphins. I dropped the Dolphins way down the list this week. Obviously, with the stuff with Tua, he's been put on IR. You don't know what's going on quarterback-wise. Even outside of Tua, they just looked all out of whack last time we saw them. So I had to drop the Dolphins, and that's interesting for me because preseason I had them taking the number 1 seed in the AFC. So, we'll see what comes of them. Number 19, the Dallas Cowboys. I dropped the Cowboys way down the list. They got their butts kicked. Dak turned the ball over and 3 times, I think, 3 or 4 times. I think he just played really poorly. They got torched by the Saints, and I think that was the kind of Cowboys I was expecting. I did think the Cowboys would take a step back this year, and week 2 looked like a team that was taking a step back, but I'm sure with the Cowboys, it'll be a roller coaster ride all year where they'll be Super Bowl contenders one week, and then they'll be horrible the next. Number 18, the Rams. I hated to drop the Rams this far down. I had them at 8. Last week, I dropped them 10 spots. It's just the injuries are piling up for the Rams. There's injuries all over the place, key players, and it's going to be tough to overcome because it's not just guys that are out, but it's guys that are out and they're going to be out for a while. And so I don't know. That's going to be tough to overcome. I thought the Rams could be major players in the NFC, but we're going to have to see how these injuries shake out. At number 17, it's the Arizona Cardinals. I know, how could the Cardinals not be higher? Listen, they looked amazing. Kyler looked amazing if he could stay healthy. And I did shoot them up the list pretty high. I think they moved up 9 spots on the list to 17. And the Cardinals are very frisky. I wouldn't want to play them right now for nothing. They got Marvin Harrison involved. The Cardinals are on the rise. They are absolutely on the rise and might be a little better than I even thought. Number 16, the 2-0 Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks, listen, They've beaten the Broncos and the Patriots. Not the most quality wins, but every win in the NFL is quality. I think Geno Smith's been really good. Mike McDonald is proving to be a good hire for them. And I think the Seahawks, I mean, it's interesting, that division. The NFC West, the Rams were assumed to be a big-time team in that division, but with the injuries, who knows? 49ers looked a little sus in week 2. The Seahawks are 2-0. The Cardinals look like they're on the rise. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see if it can continue when the Seahawks play a little tougher opponents than the Broncos and the Patriots. But, I mean, they look good so far. Number 15, the Minnesota Vikings. I thought the Vikings would continually be at the bottom of this list, but they're 2-0. Sam Darnold's playing great. They got a good defense. Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in football. They had a 97-yard touchdown, and they beat the freaking 49ers. So you got to put some respect on Darnold and the Vikings' name. I mean, we talk about all of these teams that need the young quarterback to come in from the draft or something. And then you have a team that brings in Sam Darnold or Gardner Minshew or Derek Carr, and they're lighting the world on fire. So we'll see if it continues for the Vikings. Number 14, the Philadelphia Eagles. I had the Eagles at number 5 last week. They dropped 9 spots. I think the Eagles, I think Nick Sirianni's just not a good coach. They missed A.J. Brown the other night. They will continue to miss him. He's still hurt. Jalen Hurts, to lose the game the way they did with him throwing that interception, which is similar to what he was doing last year, chunking a ball up into double coverage, forcing it, that was a demoralizing loss that I think could affect them as they continue on. Number 13, the Atlanta Falcons. Listen, what a difference a drive makes. Before that last drive, Atlanta was on the precipice of being 0-2 and saying, why did we pay Kirk Cousins $180 million to come here? But then that last drive happens, and suddenly, out of nowhere, inexplicably, Kirk Cousins looks like he was worth the money. That drive, I know it was only week 2, but that drive could go down as like a potential season saver for the Falcons, because with certain teams in that division being better than expected, I mean, that was a huge win for the Falcons. Number 12, the Ravens. I don't know what's going on with the Ravens. They've just, Lamar's been good. I don't think he's been great. I still don't think they have any elite weapons on the outside. Derrick Henry, I still think they don't quite know how to use him, even though he was better. He had a couple of Henry-esque runs on Sunday against the Raiders. Eli, I will answer that question here in a second. But the Ravens, I mean, they're 0-2. I think they're going to get it together. I think they're going to be fine, but I can't believe they lost to the Raiders, especially, like I said, they were up by 10 in the fourth quarter at home, and they lost. That's crazy. Number 11, the Bengals. I'm keeping the Bengals right in the same spot they were in last week. I know the Bengals are 0-2, and everybody's saying, what's wrong with Cincinnati? We do this every year. What's wrong with Cincinnati? They always start the season bad. They always start the season bad. They always look bad in the first couple of weeks. Jamar Chase doesn't seem happy there, but I think it's going to be fine. I think T. Higgins comes back from injury. Chase gets his head on straight. I think the Bengals are going to do what the Bengals always do, and that is get it together. I'm not out on the Bengals just yet. Let's get into the top 10, and at number 10, I got the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers, I was not a big believer in them coming into the season, but I mean, J.K. Dobbins has been running like a madman. Their defense is really good. I think Jim Harbaugh's a great coach. Justin Herbert hasn't even really had to do too much through the first 2 games. Now, they did play Carolina in week 2, but still, a win's a win. And I'll tell you what, I think that, the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, he always had the 49ers in the mix when he was there, so we'll see. But the Chargers, I don't know how you can be off to a better start than them through the first 2 weeks. At number 9, it is the Titans' opponent this week, the Green Bay Packers. It's always a sign of a good coach when you can go into a game with a backup quarterback like Malik Willis, who doesn't have a lot of experience throwing the ball well in the NFL, and you can still win like they did over the Colts, even as ugly as it was. I hope it doesn't happen again Sunday. Please, God, no. But I think the Packers have a really good roster, and I like Matt LaFleur. I just don't like him this week. At number 8, Jets, Jets. Listen, I was not a believer in the Jets at all. Thought Aaron Rodgers would struggle. Just wasn't buying into the hype. Aaron Rodgers looked like Aaron Rodgers last night. He's gotten better every game. I mean, he struggled against the 49ers, against them in week 1. was better against the Titans than he was against the Niners, and then was better against the Patriots than he was. He's gotten better every game, and last night he looked like Aaron Rodgers, and that's bad news for the rest of the AFC East. I guarantee you that. But the Jets, I mean, two wins in the matter of 4 days, you'll take it. Number 7, the Saints. The Saints make the biggest jump in the history of this 32-1 power rankings. They jump up from 27 to 7. The Saints jump up 20 spots. They are my surprise team through the first 2 weeks. I thought they were going to be horrible, but I mean, I don't know how these first. Now, they did play Carolina in week 1, but they beat the crap out of them. Then they go on the road to Dallas, and they beat the crap out of the Cowboys. Derek Carr looks like a different guy. Alvin Kamara's turning the clock back. The Saints look dangerous through the first 2 weeks, and I don't know if it's going to last, but for right now, they're a top 10 team. Number 6, the Detroit Lions. I know the Lions lost. I still think the Lions are going to be fine. I mean, Jared Goff is going to have to play a little bit better, but they've got so much talent. I think the Lions will be fine. I just think they were playing a good team. It came down to the wire, and they were the team on the wrong side of it. And the team they lost to is number 5, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another team that I did not see coming. I thought the Bucs would take a step back, but Baker is balling. He looks completely comfortable in that offense. Mike Evans is still a freak. They got a really good defense. The Bucs, I think, are even more dangerous than the Saints. I think the Bucs could be a problem in not just the NFC South, but the NFC as a whole. Number 4, I got the 49ers. I know they lost. I've had them at number 1. So they dropped to number 4. I'm not out on the 49ers. I know the Vikings have been better than people thought, but the Vikings beating them in week 2, I think, could be one of those things you look back on at the end of the year and say, wow, that was random. I think the 49ers are going to be fine. I drop them a little bit, but I think they're going to be fine. I hate to do it, but at number 3, I got the Houston Texans. I hate to have them this high, but, I mean, C.J. Stroud looks great. Nico Collins was a freak on Sunday night, and if he's not a freak, they've got other guys that can be freaks. And the Texans are good as advertised. There were a couple throws that Stroud made that are absolutely ridiculous, and I hate that the Texans are good. At number 2, it's the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Bills probably better than I expected through 2 weeks. Josh Allen playing extremely well. Defense playing extremely well. They picked off Tua like 3 times. And we'll see if it continues. But, I mean, the Bills, I don't know how they could have possibly looked better through 2 weeks. And then at number 1, I'm just going with the safe pick. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. At number 1, just because at the end of the day, it's a safe bet to just say that Patrick Mahomes is the best and that they're the best team because of him, even though I think they kind of got handed that game against the Bengals the other day by the referees.